Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Emily. I'm really excited for this video. So this is round 2. All yesterday from like 11:30 to 9:30, I batch filmed, I edited, I uploaded, I scheduled things out. I had the whole day just to focus on that, so I took advantage of it. And when I got to this video, to edit it on my computer, I was watching what I had. I'm like, this is wrong. This is another video, and I had labeled it incorrectly. And because my phone only holds so much storage, after I know that it's filmed and on my computer, I erase it from my phone. So I got to that point last night of editing this video and it wasn't correct, and it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock by the time I figured it out, and then I had to finish what I was doing, and I still had to go to bed and finish laundry and just the whole thing. So anyway, this is round 2. Let's see if I can not make another mistake. That would be fantastic. So I do realize that this video is a little bit late. I'm still kind of wrapping up some 2025 stuff. It is what it is. This is the only time I've been able to do it. Yesterday, obviously, but then today too. So we are going to talk about the 12, I think, nonfictions that I read in 2025, which I'm so excited about. I read a handful of Christian nonfiction and then a handful of just like biographies and sort of self-help type books, things like that. So I'm going to do the Christian nonfiction first and then go over to just the general nonfiction. So the first one is called I Sailed to Zion. This is about a group of, it's a variety of stories from different sources of primarily children who came to America from other countries on boats and sort of their journeys. So like they talked about the seasickness and leaving their families and the money that was involved of having to, immigrate from one country to another. It was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It was beautiful to read. I read it over the summer. It was wonderful. The next one was called An I Single by Patricia T. Holland. So she has recently passed away, I think a couple years ago. And so after she passed, her kids sort of compiled all of these different excerpts that she had given through different speeches and different public engagements, things like that. And it was fantastic. She was an incredible woman. And topics like, oh goodness, just about anything you can think of. Blessings, comfort, divine purpose, fear, imperfections and weaknesses, peace, prayer, trusting in the Lord, all just anything that you can possibly think of, just little excerpts that she has given over the years of her teachings. And I loved it. I loved her. She will be missed, that's for sure. Okay, the next one was just a cute little snippet of a read, and I loved it because you could just read a little bit each day for 21 days. So this is called 21 Principles, Divine Truths to Help You Live by the Spirit by Richard G. Scott. I loved it. It tells you in the title what it was, 21 principles to live by so that the Spirit can kind of be a part of your life and you can be led by the Spirit to know what God needs you to do. I loved it. I've done little tabs. I've marked it up. It was just wonderful. So this book is a 2-in-1. So I read one of the two, 21 Days Closer to Christ by Emily Bell Freeman. So that's this one right here. Becoming His was going to be another year-long read that I did this year. It's not happening. I will save that for next year. So Anyway, 21 Days Closer to Christ by Emily Bell Freeman. Once again, you could just read a little snippet each day. I read this during December, perfect for the Christmas season, and when our hearts turn towards the Savior and his birth. And it was a wonderful time of year to read it, but also a wonderful thing to read that could be read throughout the year. So then my last Christian nonfiction was a beast, I will tell that. So every year during the Easter season, I try to learn more about that, whether it's, ancient customs or just Holy Week in general. I've done that for the last couple of years, and it has really elevated my understanding of Christ and his crucifixion and his atonement in general. But I have learned so much about, Jewish customs and, how people around the world celebrate Easter. Anyway, my choice for 2025 was Greater Love Hath No Man, a Latter-day Saint Guide to Celebrating the Easter Season by Eric D. Huntsman and Trevin G. Hatch. This took me forever to read. It is very, very dense, and it goes through each day of Holy Week. But what they do, it's a lot. Anyway, beautiful pictures. But what they do is they dive deep into the scriptures in the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then they go through the history of that time, and then they talk about Easter traditions all over the world for different Christians and how we all celebrate this one singular incredible event. I loved it, but I was teasing with my mom that I feel like I got a master's degree in Holy Week after reading this. It was wonderful, but it was a lot. When Easter slowly comes around, I'll put out a video of all of my Easter books. They're wonderful. And if you have any that you think I might like, I would be very interested to read those. So put those in the comments below. I'd love to hear your Easter books that you have read. Okay, so those are all the Christian nonfiction. Now we're going to go into some of the just general nonfiction biographies, stuff like that. So the first is a memoir, and I think I read 2 in this series, but I at least read 1 because I know I finished the series. This is the James Herriot series, All Creatures Great and Small. There are 5 compiled books. I think there are more individual books. That whole thing really confuses me on how many books there are, but I read them all. I do know that. But then I've also read like his kids' versions and his stories on dogs, his stories on cats. I love anything with James Herriot, including the PBS, the PBS video, TV show. That's what I'm trying to say. The PBS TV show. It is adorable. I watch it with my mom. We have so much fun. But these books are just adorable. They are a memoir of, he was a country vet in England during the 40s, 50s, and so on. And he just talks about the farmers and the animals and his family and the people that he works with at the vet clinic. And they're just adorable. I absolutely loved them. And finishing that series was bittersweet because I loved reading about it, but finishing it was like, oh, I'm not gonna go to Derby anymore type of thing. It was still fun. The next one was An Eye That Never Sleeps. So this is technically a picture book, but I'm counting it as nonfiction. So it only takes about 5 minutes to read, but it is about the Pinkerton Agency and the detectives that protected President Lincoln during his campaign trail where they had to thwart a assassination attempt on a train. I had no idea that this happened in history, and I went into a deep dive into the Pinkertons. I had seen them on like different shows. I knew they were, you know, sort of a private detective agency, but I wanted to learn more about them. And so this came up in my library, and I read it, and it was absolutely adorable. Such a cute little picture book that explains who Mr. Pinkerton, I can't remember his first name, was, and then just this event in history that happened to President Lincoln. So I loved that. And then because I went into a deep dive into the Pinkertons, I found this next one that was so good. So this is called Pinkerton's Great Detective: A Rough and Tumble Career of James McParland, America's Sherlock Holmes, by Bo Riffenberg. Oh my goodness gracious, it was so good. Look at all these. I ran out of my cute, let me see if I can show you. Oh, for the love. They're kitties. I ran out of them because I was marking so much that I had to use just boring plain ones. Anyway, I loved this. It was fantastic. Such an interesting part of American history. It has two sort of parts to it, all about this James McParland. He was one of the top agents in the Pinkertons, which sort of led to, if I'm remembering correctly, sort of Secret Service, FBI, CIA-esque type trajectory, right? But the first little bit of the book was about when James McParland had to go undercover in the Molly Maguires. I had no idea what that was, but it was a gang of minors who did really horrible things. It does not go into graphics in here, but it does say that, you know, there were killings and not just really scary things. And so he went undercover and had to thwart some of those those tragic events, but then remain good with all of the, you know, higher ups in the Molly Maguires. Very fascinating. The second part of it was when James McParland was sort of the director over the west part of the United States, and it was the Wild Wild West, and he was in charge of bringing Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and their gang to its knees. So fantastic. I had seen the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, but learning more about it from this perspective was just wonderful. Highly, highly recommend this one. Okay, let's do this one. Okay. This is All 13, The Incredible Cave Rescue of the Thai Boys Soccer Team by Christina Soontornvand. This is middle grade nonfiction. I absolutely loved it. I didn't remember it from history. I think it happened in early 2000s. I could be wrong on that date. Don't quote me. But I didn't remember it at all. But it was funny because when I showed this to my mom and I showed it to one of my grandmas, they were like, oh, I totally remember that. That's so interesting. I was glued to the TV with knowing, making sure that all of these boys got saved and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it was fantastic. I loved how she walked through everything. You got to meet the boys, you got to meet the coaches, you understood sort of how all of the rescuers came in, all of the volunteers, the family members were just sitting there for however many days, weeks, whatever it was, making sure that their young boys were safe, and getting them out was just absolutely remarkable. I was flabbergasted. This has a fantastic audiobook, so I tandem read it. Definitely recommend that one. So the next two, no, let's do this one. Let's do the Beast. Okay, so, oh, so good. So good. This is Washington by Ron Chernow. So he is the same author that did Hamilton, which Lin-Manuel Miranda created the Broadway hit Hamilton off of. So same author, different book. This just walks through Washington's life from birth till death, the whole thing. Look at how big this puppy is. It was a lot. Fantastic, but it took me like 5 months to read. I will say that I read a lot of books in between, like along with this, and because I didn't have a lot of time just to sit and concentrate on it, and I didn't want to read or listen to the audiobook without having the book because I marked it up. Anyway, it just took me a lot longer than it probably should have, but it was totally worth it. Very, very fascinating. Just the way that our country started. It was wonderful. It was a really cool thing to see how the country that I love came to be. Anyway, side note, I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Middle, but it's an adorable sitcom. Sue Heck is one of the main characters, and she's like, I just love America so much. I'm like, me too. Anyway, side note. Okay, 2 more. These are both sort of self-help finance books-ish. So I have recently started my own tutoring company, and I'm being so blessed with that. But I wanted to learn more about finances and sort of how, as a business owner, finances work, and just, becoming more financially literate. The first one, this was absolutely wonderful. I loved it. The second one was good. Anyway, this is Wealth Habits: 6 Ordinary Steps to Achieve Extraordinary Financial Freedom by Candy Valentino. I loved this. Whenever I would ask questions either to, family members or Google, I would get this when I needed this, I just need baby steps. That's all my brain can handle, baby steps at a time. And she does a really good job of breaking things down. Baby steps, baby steps. Some of the things I was like, and other things were like, oh, that makes so much sense. So with these, you always have to take it with a grain of salt and sort of pick and choose what will work for you. But when 90% of the book was like, oh my goodness, that is fantastic information, I will totally use that, and I have, and with, I think, really good results so far, I would highly recommend this, even if you just want to learn more about money and, saving money, whatever your situation may be. This is definitely one that I would recommend. The next one, while good, and this is a ridiculously popular book. I am very late to the bandwagon on this one, but I was already doing a lot of the things. Good information, simple, clear, concise. I loved that part of it. Like I said, good information, just not something I could use at that moment. Maybe down the line I can use it. And I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything, because I'm so not. But at that point when I read it, it wasn't exactly what I needed. I hope that makes sense. So it's called Atomic Habits: An Easy and Proven Way to Build Good Habits and Break Bad Ones by James Clear. Like I said, a really good book, super easy, digestible, user-friendly, which I appreciate. Just basic information, which is a good place to start. And I liked how he built upon things of like, start here, and then you could add this, instead of being like, here's the whole elephant, eat it up type of thing. So I liked those things. Will I use a lot of this? Probably not as much as this one. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I know this has helped a lot of people, and I might even read it again in the future and be like, oh, okay, I can use that now type of thing. So that's the beauty of these self-help books, is if it doesn't hit you at that time, you can always go back to it and sort of, change as you change and your life changes. Anyway, those are all my nonfiction for 2025. I sure hope this works and that you guys get to see it, and we may be back for round 3. Who knows? Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video really soon. Please subscribe and like and all the other YouTube-y type stuff. And please comment below if you know of any other nonfiction that you think I might like. I would love to hear your recommendations. I love the positivity. Thank you so much for all the love and support, and I give it right back to you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.